kiss. We try our best to do this. Analyze Asian dramas and not relive the trauma. Now that you know what's in store, just sit back and tune in more. Please enjoy our podcast, Accidental Kiss. Welcome to Accidental Kiss. On this podcast, we analyze the representation, or lack thereof, in Asian dramas from the perspective of drama fans. Hi, my name is Faith. I'm a Black U.S. citizen who was maybe a little too obsessed with Asian dramas in her college days, but now wants to rekindle her love for them through this podcast.
Thanks for tuning in. I'm Wathanya. I'm Lao/Laotian, whichever term you prefer. And I basically grew up with Asian dramas.
So we're back for hopefully one final time.
Hopefully.
For part 3 of our episode on the Japanese drama Buraku Kosoku, or Black School Rules. If you haven't listened to parts 1 and 2 of this episode, we highly recommend you listen to them before you listen to this part 3. It will give you a lot of much needed context.
And as we always say, context is very important. In this part, we're going to continue discussing the representation in Black School Rules, and we're joined once again by our amazing and amazingly patient guest, Ayumi, from the podcast Sparkleside Chats with Magical Girl Ayu. Third time's a charm, I can finally pronounce it. Thank you so much for joining us a third time, Ayumi. You have been very patient with us.
Thank you so much for having me again. It's I wouldn't come back if it wasn't a blast to do. So yeah, and I guess if for some reason someone is listening and hasn't listened to parts 1 or 2 yet, I'm Ayumi. She, they pronouns, and I have very limited drama experience, though I'm certainly opening up to dramas more in my adulthood. And yeah, really excited to finish talking about this series because there's still a lot left.
Yes, there's always so much. Somehow, it's like, it's not even a long series, but somehow there's so much to talk about. Yes, but anyway, thank you, Ayumi. We're so grateful for your patience. And we're so glad to have you back on the show again. It's always a fun time. Like you said, it's always a blast. So this time, we're back to wrap up our discussion on the representation of Black School Rules and talk about the Hulu special. But before we move on, we will be discussing the entirety of many characters and quote-unquote plot lines. So, spoilers ahead!
This is a bit of a shift for me, but also we will be discussing parental neglect, bullying, manipulation, the Confederate flag, xenophobia, racism, death from overwork, physical abuse, emotional abuse, trauma, discrimination, abuse of power, obsession, attempted suicide, death, and grooming in this episode.
So, if you're sensitive to these issues, which is completely understandable, do prioritize your mental health and overall well-being. Now, let's continue discussing the representation of mental health, starting with loyalty and obsession. And as usual, Ayumi, feel free to chime in whenever.
Yeah, so like with loyalty obsession, so I get that there's this, I guess, common trope in a lot of Japanese media where loyalty is valued, but like Sora is more like obsessed with Mao. He like literally stalks her quite a lot.
Yes.
But like the drama frames it as like quote unquote love or fascination or hormones.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Like perfectly normal and natural
Yes,
behavior.
They make it seem like it's almost cute or something. Like, oh, look at him stalking her. Yeah, so like we're gonna mention this again more in the Hulu special, but he even spies on her in the Hulu special, hugging with, at the time I thought was a random white guy, but we'll find out later. We'll talk more about him. I mean, we've already talked about him a little bit, but you know, we'll talk about him more in the Hulu special. And then he obsesses over whether they are dating, pretty much, because he's like, oh, but hugging in Japan is really serious, but maybe it's not serious, and you know, overseas and blah blah blah. And he's just like obsessing over that and like her relationship with this guy who she literally just hugged, and that's it. And like, they're not dating, so who cares?
Yeah.
like him and her are not dating, so it does not matter actually if she is dating or not. But okay.
Yeah. But like, I don't know what's worse, Sora's obsession with Mao or Otawa Sensei's obsession with Mori Sensei. I mean, she calls it love, but she calls it love, but I do not think it is love.
No.
That is my personal
Nope.
my personal opinion.
I think that's everyone's here's personal opinion.
I think so. Yes.
I mean, anyone who sees this as love, yeah. If anyone sees
It's
this
a
as
lot.
love, that's actually more disturbing to me. I'm afraid. I'm like, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's disturbing to watch.
It's quite disturbing. And the thing is, for me, it's like, okay, like, you know, these type of people do exist, you know, especially, you know, in these dramas, these kind of characters are always there, right? Which is fine. But the thing is, I feel like the drama kind of rewards it, though, at the end. When we talk about the special, we'll talk about it a bit more, but, like, I feel like it's kind of rewarded in the end, in a way, like, because they're like, oh, well, you know, she's got the date, even though he doesn't think it's a date, because he doesn't know what dates are, I guess. I don't know. But like,
Hashtag asexual representation, remember?
Yes. He has no idea what's going on, but like, she thinks it's a date, and so it's kind of like a win for her, right? You know, so I don't know. I don't really like that, but yeah. Anyway, so speaking of really messed up relationships, Tamogami Sensei is also still obsessed with the sensei that pretty much groomed her. So she still wears the kanzashi, which is like the hairpin that he bought her over 10 years ago. Like, she still wears, like.
Yeah, I feel like this comes up a lot in Japanese media as well. Like, you know, like, I guess loyalty or like, like, I don't know, clinging on to someone for a long time.
Yeah. I think this is in a lot of Asian media.
Yeah.
Remember Itaewon Class?
Oh.
Where he was like obsessed with one woman for like, what, 15 years or something? Like a long time.
I thought it was 20.
Like a really long time. Oh, no. You're probably right. I don't know, but it was a long time.
It was like the beginning of high school till
So
they
he
created
was like
a
30
huge
something.
company.
Yeah.
That I haven't seen that one, but that doesn't sound healthy. Yeah. It's like, hello, no, like, that's, you know, especially in the case of, like, in this case, like, someone who died, like, even if he wasn't a literal teacher that had groomed a teenager, it would still be like, okay, come on, like, you need to, like, you know, you can't just be like single forever. There are other fish in the sea. It's okay to date other people.
Yeah, especially because you were a child, literally,
Yeah.
when this happened. So yes, you have other options. Like the fact that she's now a grown woman and she still has not met anyone else she wants to date is like, I don't know. I mean, you know, I guess it happens, but it's like, wow.
It sounds
like, do we want to show that? Like, do we really
unrealistic.
want that? Yeah, and it also just sounds like really unhealthy. Like, it sounds like
it does.
Mm-hmm.
And like at first, I was like, am I just like overreacting because I'm not monogamous? Like, because sticking to one person your whole life is just something that I personally cannot imagine. And I'm like, okay, am I overreacting because this is not something that I would ever experience? And after hearing from both of you that that is unrealistic, I feel a bit better, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's not you. No, it's them. It's not you.
Yeah, as someone who has been in both monogamous and poly relationships, it's not normal.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
even if you are monogamous.
Quite abnormal. Like, I could, like, Oh my god, like no. Especially they're dead. I mean, no offense. I mean, I know, respect the dead, stuff like that. He's dead, whatever. But come on, 10 years?
Yeah.
Well, shall we move on to a more, I guess, serious? I don't.
I mean, I'm
not gonna rate these. Yeah, I'm not gonna rate these topics. Let's move on to something also serious, but from a different point of view. You know what? Let's just move on to abuse. So, as I hope we all know, there's more than one type of abuse. There's physical abuse, there's emotional abuse, and there is neglect.
Starting off with physical abuse. So Tashirogi sensei, who is the asshole PE teacher, uses a lot of violence on the students. And that ends up being like something that gets him in he gets blackmailed by the what was his name? I forgot his name. He's the vice president, right, of the student council. It's been so long. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot his name. But that guy,
Michiro.
He ends up blackmail because he ends up Michiro. Yeah. He ends up like taking getting a video of him beating on the student, and then blackmails him with that, and then is able to keep his phone because of that. So yeah, a lot of violence towards the students, physical, and also I put this in here. I don't really know if I think it's like abuse, but I just put it in here just because near the end of the series, the main series, Tamagami Sensei slaps Tashirogi Sensei in the face for berating the main characters, like when they skipped school. Like he was like calling them like idiots and like, just saying really mean things and like being like, oh, you shouldn't be like them and things like that. And I guess she felt, personally offended by it, and she like slapped him in front of everybody. And yeah, I mean, I don't really think it was abuse, but like, I guess I just found it interesting.
I mean, it is still technically an assault, though. I think that there's this idea that like he deserves it because he hits the students, and it's I think that it is worth noting that like there's no effort to show that like, oh, this is a problem and like maybe he should be caught and like thrown out of the school or something, or made to like not teach anymore. Is none of that. It's just just like, oh yeah, he's gonna still stay here.
Yeah, that's the thing.
And I don't know what we're supposed to expect. Is he gonna like stop hitting students?
He's not. Yeah, that's the truth. Yeah, it's like her slap is supposed to be like, okay, well look, he got his just desserts. Look, he got slapped by a female teacher. Now we're even. I don't know. Yeah, it does seem like it's kind of this weird like resolution that they kind of like slapped on. Well, no. interesting choice of words that they put on, like they tacked on at the end to like make it look like, oh well, we got him, but it's like, he's still gonna teach there, he's still gonna abuse more kids. It's like just because he got slapped once in front of like the student body doesn't mean he's gonna stop, and they're not gonna actually fire him, right? I mean, they wouldn't even fire like a child molester, so I don't think they'll fire him. So yeah, I don't think they'll fire him. So yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, and like, I'm not one to really assume things, but like the type of person that Tashirogi Sensei is, I feel like behind the scenes he would probably get back at Tamagami Sensei somehow.
Probably, yeah. That's true. He's very petty.
Good point.
He is.
That's true. And it would be something way worse than what she did.
Yeah.
It would be like something really, really bad. Like, definitely. I could definitely see that. Ugh, so scary.
Yeah, this is actually a pretty dark series.
Yeah, no, it's actually dark. It's quite dark.
It is dark and awful, but like, realizing that and like verbalizing it can be quite different.
Yeah, no. Now that I think about it, it's really sinister now. I mean, it was always bad, but like, it's like, whoa.
Yeah. And another thing that the series brings up about abuse is bullying, which is like a huge thing in Japan. Like, so I went to school. It was my first year when I was getting my psychology degree. Like, literally all but 2 people in my class wrote about bullying. So yeah, bullying is quite a thing in Japan, so I'm not too surprised that it was brought up. Michiro and Joji physically bully Sora, kind of. Like, so bullying is often seen as this, like, one big event thing. But, like, sometimes people forget that bullying is often a process. It often starts small and it continues, and that continuation of abuse is what scars victims of bullying.
Yeah, I think it's like a matter of there's the bullying that's easy to depict in a show, and then there's like real life bullying is a lot more complicated, and they don't necessarily have the time to, like, unless it's like a show about bullying or something like that, then they're gonna take the time to like really go into it. But like, I have lost count of how many shows I have seen that like try to deal with this topic for like decades. It's a lot.
So many. Yeah, I mean, this is obviously this is like a world issue. This is an issue everywhere, but like, yeah, especially in Japanese media, like it's very popular to portray it. But yeah, I don't think most of them portray it well, unless, like Ayumi said, it's like specifically about bullying, you know, and then even then they might miss the mark, because it's like, it's usually the kind of typical bullying that we see in shows where it's like, okay, you get physically bullied, and like they're like, okay, like I'm gonna harass you for this thing, and then after a while they'll be like, okay, fine, I'm not gonna do it anymore because I don't know, plot. But like you know,
no, like even even Hanayori Danko isn't depicting it very well.
Yeah. No, because it's like really harsh at first, and then as soon as he falls in love with the main character, he's like, okay, not gonna bully anymore. Like, I'm like, oh wow, so you just gave it, wow, okay, wow.
Magic.
Yeah, that's true.
The magic of hormones.
Oh god, no. Okay. Well, speaking of, this is also bullying, honestly. The factory manager also punches Kofi in the face for quote unquote talking back, you know, about his rights and stuff, which is a form of adult bullying, which also happens a lot in real life and is much more complicated than what they portrayed in this show. But you know, they're trying to do everything though. They don't have time.
What the factory manager, even though he was cartoonish, did was basically what's it called again? Power harassment, right? Because he is technically Kofi's boss. Yeah, he is. He is Kofi's boss. Yeah, and he physically assaulted him. So yeah, power harassment, and also like abuse, like definitely. Yeah, it was pretty bad. I mean, like, you know, I wasn't surprised by it, but it was still like, okay. I don't know. I guess you know, I wasn't expecting much, you know, in this show. But like at that point you weren't expecting much. I wasn't expecting much, but still, I just like it's still kind of weird to me, because it's like, okay, they protest for their rights, right? They're like, okay, we deserve respect. You know, Sora and Chuya clean up the, you know, I guess junkyard or something, like the construction site for them, and they have like one protest, and then after that, we don't actually know what happens. Like, there's no resolution. We don't know if the manager treats them better or not. Probably not. It's kind of like the slap with was it Todoroki Sensei? Like, he gets slapped, but it's like, well, he's still gonna work at the school, right? And they're still gonna work for this guy who abuses them and hits them. Nothing has changed. I'm seeing a pattern in the show. Okay. Nothing's really changed. And speaking of the Shirogi Sensei, it would be a good time to move on to emotional abuse and neglect, because he definitely does that too. Yeah. Like I was saying before, not only does he physically beat the students, but he also emotionally abuses them. So he calls them idiots, he berates them, like, you know, he manipulates them, takes bribes, you know, picks favorites, Michiro, and publicly humiliates them. Like, pretty much, just
awful person.
Yeah, like
really bad.
cartoonishly awful.
Yeah, continuously awful, pretty much. Yeah.
Like I guess the series needed like a bad guy.
I guess, but it's like they couldn't make it the child molester.
Yeah,
I have a lot of questions about that. Like that choice. Like it's like not the child groomer, but the P. I mean, later on, this guy is very like we said, cartoonishly evil. He is very bad, and he deserves to be a villain.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, but then the child groomer is like a saint or something. Like it's really weird.
What's that?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's complicated. But like, I mean, I think it makes sense. Oh, sorry. Yeah. I think it makes sense that he would be abusive in more ways than one. But like, yeah, I think it's just he's to such a degree that it's like almost unrealistic. Even though there are definitely people like this in real life, it just feels like, yeah, like it's more of like an archetype than an actual person.
Yeah. We don't get his, we don't get any of his background story. We don't get his I guess we get kind of his point of view, but not really. Like, I guess a little bit, but
wait,
we don't really know. I guess like I just remember there's one scene where he was talking to Sora because like Sora was trying to like talk about changing the rules, and he was like, well, like teachers don't have like, we can't even hit students, even though he still hits them too. So he's like, we're not even allowed to hit them anymore, or something like that. He's complaining about how teachers have it rough or whatever. There was one scene I remember him talking about that because I was like, okay, I was just like, all right, my guy. So like, we get a little bit of his perspective, I guess, but like not that much. Like it's mostly him just being a cartoon villain.
I see. Well, you hear me scoffing right now. And I remember when I saw that scene, I was also scoffing.
Well, yeah, because it's him, right? If it was like a legit teacher, like, I don't know, Mori Sensei or something, someone who's like not abusive and horrible, then you'd be like, you feel some sympathy for him. But because it's like this teacher, because the thing is, what he was saying was not right, but there, like the words he said were right, but obviously with him, you have to take it with a grain of salt because it's him. But like, yes, teachers do have it rough. Like there is a lot of stuff that teachers go through, but like, we don't really see that because it's focused on the kids, right? And so he's the one causing most of the problems in the school. But there are a lot of pressures for the teachers, but it's just we don't get a character who really shows that. It's mostly, it's just about the school rules, right? So,
yeah. Like if it. Yeah, like you said, if it came from, like, Mori Sensei, and, I don't know, we could have a scene where Mori Sensei is like, I'm a bit worried about what, my act of going to this person's house would be viewed, because, according to the rules, I'm not supposed to do that. Like, okay, maybe I'll think a bit more, like, sympathetically about it, but, like, coming from Tetsuyuki Sensei, like, oh, I can't hit students anymore. I'm like, excuse me? But yeah, like, Otowa Sensei is not good either. Like, she, like, obviously only targets female students, or those that she perceives as female students, but like she publicly humiliates them, and apparently picks favorites. If you can call Kirari a favorite,
yeah, she did. Because Kirari was like, not following the rules, and she totally ignored it. What was her name? I don't remember her name. Sorry, she's like a side character who. No, I know Kirari. The girl who's kind of. Sort of bullying Mao, but kind of an antagonistic towards Mao. I forgot her name. Kind of background. Yeah, she's got a background.
I don't remember her name.
I mean, she's not like. she's there, but she's not like main character.
I think she had a name, but like
she did. She did have a name.
She wasn't really.
I did write it down. I can look back and try to find it.
She isn't really like part of. She isn't really part of the like. I guess main cast.
Kotone. That was
right.
her.
That was her.
Yeah. So she points out that Kirari is like, not following the school dress code, and Otowa Sensei's just like, whatever.
Yeah.
Doesn't care.
And the interesting thing is, Kirari doesn't even like she doesn't intend to be the teacher's pet, but she is somehow every teacher's pet. So like when she breaks rules, it's not just Ottawa Sensei that's ignoring it. It's everyone.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah. It's just something interesting to note.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah. And then, of course, there are students who bully Azuma for his stuttering. And like I just mentioned, Kotone also verbally abuses Mao, like being like, oh, well, see, I told you her hair wasn't really, brown or what. I don't know, like really weird stuff that I'm like, okay, like if this is what I guess you want to bully someone over, all right, cool, I guess. But like, I mean, it's like there's really silly things that I'm like, is this a thing? Like, is this? I guess I don't know. I'm not a Japanese school student, but maybe that's a big deal. I don't know.
She's probably secretly jealous of Mao and her hair.
No, she probably. No, I think she is. I do think she is because, like,
yeah.
I think she. Like I said, I think she likes Sora. I think she has a crush on him or something.
Oh,
I think she likes him.
It's possible.
Yeah, because in the movie it's a little more obvious, but like in the series it's kind of vague, so you're not really sure. But like in the movie, it's if you watch the movie, it gives that vibe really hard. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's why she's hating on Mal so much. Like,
interesting.
Yeah, it would have been interesting to actually see any reasoning behind that, but we don't get enough time with her.
No, that's the thing. We don't get enough time with most.
We
of the
barely
people,
get enough time with Mao.
Why are you doing this? Yeah, exactly. She's the main character. That's true. You're right. So I know Ayumi, you had a lot to say about Mao's mom.
Oh goodness, yeah. Like, so. Of course, we do see this a lot more in the actual special rather than in the the main show, just because we don't, like we just said, we don't get a lot of time with Mao. But yeah, and just in terms of like, especially within the special series, we see Mao interacting with her mother a lot more, and her like neglect is so interesting because like. Again, she's so clearly, an irregular Japanese mother. Like, it's very clear that's what they're trying to depict her as. And she has this whole thing of like, it's like, okay, well, they are going to kick you out of high school if you don't dye your hair. But that's fine because you don't really need to go to school anyway. You can still get a job and not graduate high school, which is like technically true. But you would hope that she would want her daughter to like excel in things that she wants to. I don't know. It was just like really weird as like trying to figure out like what does she think Mao wants to hear versus like what Mao actually wants to hear, because like Mao, we learned throughout the special like she actually wants to go to school, she wants to fit in, she doesn't want to be like causing all this trouble because of her hair. So like it's just like she's so unaware of her own daughter's needs that it's very frustrating. And I know that this is like something that can actually happen in regards to like especially non-mixed parents of mixed kids. I didn't have this particular brand of things. My mother did want me to stay in school, but like that's
normal. I think that's normal. I don't think that's
yes
normal.
Wow, amazing. My mother wanted me to go to school, but like I think that this does happen where like the parent is not equipped enough to like actually handle their child's needs because they don't have the same experience. And for me it was a very different experience because I didn't go to school in Japan. I'm sure that had I gone to school in Japan I would have experienced some things like I think that I can relate to the experience that my mother also like doesn't really she doesn't really fit in with Japanese society anymore, to the point where she like doesn't really feel at home when she comes back anymore. So like she stands out. She has tattoos now, which is like very much like it's a big no and whatever. and like she gets annoyed that like people give her trouble for it. My mom is actually texting me right now, so I think her ears are burning. I'm like, what is happening to my phone? Yeah, but so like she definitely has that kind of, you know, that's her experience with Japan now, is that like she has become so Americanized, I guess. Like she's so affected by foreign culture that she doesn't really feel like she's Japanese. And like technically she isn't. She did change her citizenship and stuff. But like,
okay.
yeah, she like went all the way, I guess. But yeah, you know, like if we were to have stayed in Japan, like with me growing up here instead of in the US, I'm sure it would have been a very different experience for both of us. And because I know that like there were things that neither of my parents were equipped to help me with, you know, growing up in the US as a Japanese American. So yeah, it's just like, it's very frustrating. And, you know, again, we have no idea what's going on with Mao's father. We don't know how he feels. We don't know if he's alive. So like, you know, it's like, okay. You know, it's this also just goes into like the general representation of like how they just kind of drop the ball on a lot of things here in the show.
Yeah, it's so sad.
But I feel so sorry for Mao throughout, especially the specials. Like, it's like, oh my god, girl, please go to therapy.
well, she doesn't need therapy, Ayumi. She had that message that she wrote in the special.
That's true.
Wait, I forgot what message.
Okay, never mind. Everything is fine.
Oh goodness. What was it?
Right.
The message actually ended up helping
I just saw the
Remember,
special.
like, there was, like,
Time heals.
I forgot exactly. Oh, was it? Yeah. That was it.
Yes.
Yeah. So she doesn't need therapy, Ayumi. She just needs that message, and now she'll be okay for the rest of her life because, you know, that. But yeah, no, totally agree with everything you said, Ayumi. Like, it's just, yeah, we don't know much about Mao. You know, actually, when I first saw the special, I thought it was kind of, you know, at first I thought it was kind of good that, like, Mao's mom wasn't putting pressure on her to go to school and stuff like that. But then when I realized, you know, Mao wants to go to school, like, this is what Mao wants to do. But her mom is just, like, you know, I guess trying to be the cool mom. I don't know. I don't know what she's doing. But, like, I think she's trying to be like, oh, yeah, it's fine. Do whatever you want, you know? Like, but she wants her mom to give her structure. She wants her mom to tell her, like, no, I want you to go to school. I want you to do these things. And, like, her mom's just like, you know, whatever. And so because she wants to go, then it's not a good thing. But it's like, I guess if this is another show where, like, you know, the kid was like, oh, I don't want to go to school, I'm not interested in school, but the parent was, like, making them go because, like, you know, they tell them it's good for the future, which, you know, it definitely can be. But, like, I guess kind of, like, in a way refreshing to see a parent who wasn't obsessed with their kid going to school, you know, because we always see that kind of, I guess, dynamic of, like, oh, you have to go to school, you have to go to the best college, and you gotta get in, and you gotta get the best job, and you gotta do, you know, whatever in society, blah, 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 blah. And so I guess it was, like, kind of nice to see that a parent wasn't obsessed with that. But at the same time, Mao actually wanted
I think
to go
there's
to
a
school.
difference between, like, not being strict and being like, who cares? You know, like, that's not what you want in a parent.
Well, I think that's just Mari and everything, right? She's just like, who cares about everything? She's just like, woo, whatever. And the thing is, it's like, I don't know, I kind of find it, it's like, I get it, like, they're like, okay, I guess they're trying to say, like, what kind of Japanese person would at least have, like, I don't know, that's what I feel like it is, though. I feel like it's like, okay, well, what kind of Japanese person would, like, you know, marry a foreigner and have a child? Ooh, she must be a free spirit. And it's like, you know, I feel like that's like the stereotype or something. I feel like that's the Japanese stereotype of, like, you know, Japanese people who, like, date foreigners, that they have to be a special type. So they can't be, like, a normal.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking along those lines, actually. I was like, so they want to, like, do something that isn't, like, the strict parent that wants their kid to go to school. And they're like, okay, what type of person would marry a foreigner? Okay, what kind of kid would they be raising? Oh, she wants to go to school. That's weird.
How dare she want to go to school? Because that's totally abnormal abroad. No one wants their kids to go to school ever. What? But I do feel like that's
exactly.
the vibe, though, because it's like they're like literally like, oh, she's kind of quirky, you know, she likes foreigners, she's like the cool mom. I don't care about grades at school.
That's not what cool moms are, I don't think.
It's like they were watching Mean Girls and saw Amy Poehler's character and took it completely seriously. They're like, oh, this is what American moms are like. It's like, oh my god.
So, yeah, no, I feel the thing is though, like you said, we get nothing about her actual like American like heritage or like culture. Like we don't see the dad.
Yeah.
We don't get any like, I guess maybe the person you said, Ian, right, in the special, maybe she's a cousin or someone, who knows. We don't know really. Like, we don't get any real, like, information about her family. Like, does she talk to her father at all? Like, is there any contact? Nothing. Like, we don't get anything about it. So it's, like, it's weird that they put all this emphasis into making her this, like, I guess, you know, westernized or, like, you know, foreign, like, Japanese person. We get nothing about her actual foreign, you know, actual, like, American side of her family. Like, her actual dad or his family or anything. Like, it's so weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mari is a very interesting character in that sometimes I feel like she's not a character, but sometimes I feel like she is, if that makes sense. Like sometimes it's like, oh, archetype, and sometimes it's like, oh, character.
I will say, though, I do actually know someone. I do have actually a friend, a Japanese friend, who kind of reminds me of Mari. Who's also named Mari. Like, she's not a mom, but, like, she is, like, into foreign people and, like, stuff like that. And she does act a bit, like, I guess, quirky, I guess you could say, or whatever. So it kind of reminds me of that. Like, so I do see this character in real life. Like, I do see this type of person. Like, they
well,
do
I guess that just tells you the kind of people I surround myself with. No, like, because if someone's vibe feels off, I just automatically like be like, I don't know, keep them at arm's length.
Yeah, I know.
Like,
yeah.
If it isn't at like some sort of event, I would probably not see them kind of length.
I mean, she's not to this extreme. Like, I think if she had a kid, she would want to go to school. But, like, you know.
That's good. Okay.
But she is a bit kind of, like, quirky, you know, kind of a party girl, you know. Like, she's got that, you know, I guess what Japanese people would say is, like, you know, foreigner, kind of Western.
She's been westernized.
And she kind of sees that as herself. Yeah, like, she kind of sees herself, I guess, as that, too. Because she likes, you know, she likes to use English just, you know, just to be cool or whatever. Like, she's, like, one of those type of people, so, yeah.
The last kind of abuse that we want to go into is professional. We kind of talked a little bit about how the factory manager was what he did to Kofi was power harassment, but we wanted to talk more about like a bit more deeply about what the teachers at the school did. So the teacher that groomed Tamogami Sensei, who has not been named yet, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Oh, there you go. That's why.
Yeah, when Tamogami Sensei was still a high schooler, I believe she was in her second year, but I can't really remember. It's been a while since I've seen the series.
She definitely wasn't a third year. I know that. She was definitely not 18.
I think third year high schoolers in Japan are 17.
Like 17 to 18, yeah 17.
Yeah, they're usually 17 going on 18.
Yeah, that teacher was grooming Tamogami Sensei when she was either 15 or 16, or 17 at most. And they apparently got into a relationship that Tamogami Sensei described as, and it was a genuine relationship.
Oh god!
It was true love.
Sorry. Oh how did she know that?
She was 16.
Yeah. Probably, yeah. Like, how would she know? Like, she has no experience, right? Like, she's like, why would she know this was a genuine relationship?
No. Like, if I had a relationship with, like, someone twice my age when I...
Your teacher?
So someone twice my age when I was like 15 or something, I'd be like questioning that relationship like way too much. Like, right.
Well, that's good of you.
Yeah, that's
very
great that
mature.
you can, you can do that, 'cause...
I just to get like slightly personal, I'm very lucky that I had parents that were like really looking out for me, but there was a family friend who did try to approach me when I was still a teenager, and then I told my parents and I never saw them again for some reason. So yeah, but like I remember that my reaction as a teenager was not like, oh my god, I can't believe an adult is trying to come on to me. It was like excitement and like, oh, this is interesting. So like, because like I was, a teenager, I didn't know any better. And like, even though I had very good parents who were like talking to me about like, hey, watch out for like other teenagers trying to like, I don't know, take advantage of you or whatever. But like they didn't talk to me about adults yet, because I guess they didn't think that was going to happen, and then it did. And yeah, but yeah, so like I think that it's good that like I would hope that like most teenagers would know that that's inappropriate. I feel like these days I don't like talk to a lot of teenagers, but I have talked to teenagers, and in like like recently, and from my experience, I've seen that at least in the West, a lot of teenagers seem to understand that like it's weird if an adult tries to hit on you. Or like even someone like a few years older or whatever, but like I don't know if I've ever seen like anything in Japan addressing that particular topic as like, hey, this is bad.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah,
I
don't know how present it is in like dramas in general, but I know from my experience reading tons of comics for girls, it's like such a huge trope that this happens. Like even like if you were just to focus on student and teacher relationships, it's so common. I've seen them in commercials.
Oh,
yeah.
No.
Yeah, I think one of the worst commercials I've ever seen in my life. To be honest, this was like a mobile ad on my phone, so take it with a grain of salt, because those are like their own level of really like bad. WTF. But like I got I'm fat, so I get a lot of weight loss ads, and I got this one ad that was like in comic form with like voice acting over it, and it was a story about like a fat girl who was getting bullied in high school, and she gets like rescued by her teacher, and they start a relationship, and then when she turns 18 and like she graduates, she's like, oh, I'm ready to be in a real relationship with you, and he's like, you're fat. Bye. And it's like, and I was like, this is supposed to be a weight loss advertisement? This is like, oh, well, if she had just used this product, then it was just...
oh my god, I think I'm
this commercial appeared, I know, disappeared on my phone like only like a year or two ago. This is like very recent.
On so many levels.
I usually get a variety of those weird ones on YouTube. Like on YouTube, I'll get like the weird, like it'll be the weight loss, it'll be the boob, like what do you say? Like I guess increasing your boob size, like like I get a lot of stuff. I mean, they don't know anything about me, obviously. Google does not know enough about me.
Yeah.
But I did want to just kind of piggyback on what Ayumi was saying about children not knowing about, like, like not really questioning, I guess, adults, like when they like hit on them or say stuff to them. I remember when I was a child, I, would have like adults, because, I guess I was more, full figured, than children were supposed to be. And so I would have adults like say things that were sexual to me, but I didn't think of them as like bad. I thought of it as like, oh, I guess I'm like mature, or I'm like cool, like I didn't think of it as like them abusing me or something like that. So I do think a lot of younger people, maybe nowadays it's better, but I know when I was growing up, when we were growing up, like I wouldn't have like questioned it so much. I would have been like, oh, they think I'm attractive. Wow, I guess I must be really cool or something.
I'm kind of like remembering what it was like for me as a teenager. And I either grew up around teachers who have always been professional, or everything just went over my head. I am notorious for not getting when people flirt with me. So if as a teenager, like an adult tried to come on to me, I probably would not have noticed.
Well, that's probably for the best anyway. I mean, because they shouldn't be flirting with you. So.
They should not be, no.
I guess that's good. Yeah. I guess speaking of teachers, so Otoa Sensei abuses her power as a teacher to manipulate Mori Sensei. Even though they're both teachers, she kind of uses like, oh, well, this is against the rules, and like, oh, I'm gonna like, you know, tell the principal you're going to a house where there's only women there because I guess that's against a rule. I don't know. Anyway, I guess it doesn't look good, and so she pretty much kind of like, yeah, like kind of blackmails him into dating her. Yeah.
Quote unquote dating.
Well, she thinks it's dating.
So Tamogami Sensei is a character that is portrayed as on the good side, I guess.
Yeah, she slaps.
Yeah.
So she's on the good side.
But even then, she exchanges phone numbers, line accounts, email addresses with like some sort of like personal contact with.
I don't remember exactly,
Julia.
but something with
and it's really not appropriate. I don't.
Because that's how she gets. Because that's how she gets the photo, right? Of them at the beach, so she can put it on display for the school. Like he sends it to her or something, and so like
it must have been like an email address. Cause
maybe that's like the that's the least offensive one, I guess. Ugh. Still a little but
yeah. It's very unfortunate. It's like it's so rare for there to be a situation in which a teacher would need that kind of information from their students. And like I can't imagine, especially if it's like, you know, in a school setting like this, like you would typically contact the parents.
Exactly.
So you would get information from them. Exactly. There's no reason for you to be able to, like, as a teenager, text your teacher or whatever.
Yeah. No, like most of my teachers when I was in high school, like, you know, I remember people were asked them like, oh, like, you know, can we exchange Facebook? Can we do whatever? And they were like, oh, once you've like graduated, you know, when you've graduated, you're an adult, then yeah, we can, you know, talk on Facebook or something. But as long as you're a student, no. Like, you know, yeah, that's usually the policy. But guess Tamagami Sensei has different.
I actually have my I believe it was chemistry. It was my chemistry teacher in middle school and high school on my Facebook friend list. Like even right now. But the interesting yes.
Oh, so in high school too, also.
He taught me chemistry in middle school and high school. But the thing was, so he's Chinese. So he had never like been exposed to the concept of Facebook. And my friends were just like,
I see. Yeah.
Hey, do you have Facebook? And my teacher was like, what? So apparently they made him a Facebook account and he befriended everyone in the class.
Okay.
Interesting.
That's interesting. That's also a very different situation, though, because you know, this is like he literally.
So I'm gonna say like.
I was gonna say like literally the kids made it for him, and he just like added them because they probably even added themselves, right? They're like, oh, just friend me, you know, like right. So he doesn't know how to use
this was like. I'm guessing this was like around the time where like it was typical if you have Facebook, you want as many friends as possible or whatever. Yeah. My experience with like that as a teacher, I think I've exchanged information with a student literally one time, and it was because this student who was older than me, an adult student, she had asked if she could take me out to dinner one time. I checked with my boss first, and she was like, oh, that sounds fun. Go ahead. And so we did. We exchanged a line, and like, I think after that, there were like a few times there was like, when she couldn't come to class, she would like send me a line text instead of like calling the school. But otherwise, like, we never talked to each other. That was that. But like with, as a student, I think I was Facebook friends. Let's see. I think with, two high school teachers. But not like when I was in high school.
Exactly.
And then and then in college, there were like I think 2 or 3 professors I had who were actually grad students that were like teaching like an early level thing to undergrads, and so I remember friending them on Facebook like after the lesson, after like the semester.
Yeah,
you know,
I think that's totally
because that's like, yeah,
I think that's totally reasonable. Yeah, I am now friends with like, you know, 2 of my teachers from high school now that I'm an adult, right? I think that's totally fine, but it's just like when you're a student, especially a under 8, you know, like you're under 18, you're like a 16, you know, 17-year-old student, and your teacher is exchanging line with you, like, you know, or you're asking for the line and they're like, oh yeah, here you go, like, you know, it's just it's or your Facebook or whatever social media, like, I think it's just strange. Like, I just think it's weird when you're like actively still teaching the student and they are a child, you know, like that is the difference, you know, and all these things, you know. I mean, yeah, with Wathanya's, yes, technically you were a child when you had the Facebook, but it was like literally like, you know, your teacher was like, huh, what, Facebook? And then you just like made them one. So that's
probably asked him like,
here, this person knows,
who do you know on Facebook? And they looked him up, and he's like, oh, all my friends are in China. So.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a completely different situation, whereas like this is like she's actively, you know, knows, I'm assuming, social media, since she's updating the social media site or doing the website for like the school and shit. So I think she knows what she's doing. So she knows about social media, she knows all the stuff, and she's still exchanging something with Chuya. And the thing that makes it even worse is that this is after the episode where he confesses to her that he loves her, and she reveals that like she had a relationship with her teacher when she was a high school student, pretty much. So this makes it the context completely different. You know, it was already creepy before, but after that, it's like,
and this is despite like, her being like,
too much.
Oh, a teacher can't have relations with a student because rules. I don't know.
But does she really believe that? No. Because she keeps asking, like, are rules, do you have to follow the rules? Like, she keeps, like, you know, she asked the principal that and stuff. It seems like she's kind of wavering on that or something.
I like, don't know. I feel like her experience being groomed has, you know, affected the way she sees things. Yes. And I don't know why she is a teacher at the high school that she got groomed.
Yeah, it's so strange. And then the principal, like...
that is another, like, whoa.
Yeah, and also the principal was there when she got groomed. And he doesn't really say anything bad about the teacher that groomed her. I guess he's dead, but, like, it's just weird. Because he was principal when she was being groomed.
He probably thought it was fine.
He also thinks that, like, you know, you have to follow all rules or else people are going to commit, you know, suicide or something. Like, you know, he really thinks that, like, the rules are what stops that. And it's like, no, sir, it's not your rules. Like, that's not what it is. That wasn't the... No. Like, your rules were the problem, not the people. Anyway, like, it was...
We get
anyway. Yes. Well, I'll have more to say about this, actually, about this Chuya Tamogami Sensei relationship in the special. Go even more in it in the special, which, like, like a little bit in it. Just, I did not. I have something to say about that. Anyway, moving on. I want to add this because, like, you know, I think it's important, and I've been adding it to the last couple of episodes we've done. But like I talk about fat representation. I wanted to just like
there's one fat teacher, quote unquote fat teacher, Teshirogi Sensei.
Fat.
Like, was he fat?
Mm-hmm. I think for Japan he is. In Japan he definitely is. Like in Japan, you know, everyone's like, oh, he's fat. Oh my god! Actually, that reminds me today. I was teaching a student, and she was, like, we were talking about jobs, and, like, she was, like, I asked her, like, oh, like, how is your manager? Like, what is he like? Oh, what is your manager like? Something. And she was like, oh, you know, he's fat. He's really nice. And I was like, what? I was like,
oh, my God.
Like, what? I was like, what? Is that how you lead this? Like, is that a bad, like, is he bad for being fat? Or, okay. He's fat, but he does care about us. I'm like, oh. Okay.
Where do I begin?
Yeah, it's a mess.
This is why I want to talk about fat representation, because of comments like that, because of mindsets like that, where being fat apparently is just bad in of itself. And so that's why I wanted to talk about this, because a lot of times I do see in media, like all over the world, you know, I've seen it in American media, I've seen it in Japanese media, I've seen it many times in media, you know, fat people are kind of portrayed as mean, like by default. Like if they're like fat, they're probably going to be mean, evil, and or abusive. Like, that's a big thing. Like, look at Harry Potter. Look at, like, you know, there's, like, so many series. Look, Matilda. Look at Matilda. Like, you know,
the
like,
Little Mermaid.
It's a thing. Like, fat characters tend to be evil. Yeah, exactly. Ursula's great. Oh my god, I love Ursula. Anyway, but, like, amazing. But, like, yeah. See, all the fat character is, like, if you're gonna be a fat character, either you're, like, a bullying victim who, like, the main character needs to save because, you know, you're just hopeless and fat, or you're evil. Like, literally bad. And that's
I watched a show literally as of this recording, it was today. I watched a show that covered this topic kind of in one episode. It's Wonder Egg Priority, which is a very intense series about girls who are trying to rescue other girls who are suicidal, but like in a magical girl way. It's kind of complicated and they don't like succeed most of the time, at least from what I've watched so far. But there's this character who is like an idol she's trying to rescue her fan, and she is the reason why her fan killed herself because her fan was fat and like was a loyal fan to her. But when she tried to hang out with her like in real life, because like they bumped into each other in public, she was like, I can't be seen with a fat person, bye. And it was like never acknowledges like, oh, it's kind of messed up of me to say that. It was just like, oops, well, I gotta save her now.
What? Oh my god! No!
Like, it was so weird. I don't know. Like, I just watched this episode. I don't know how the story continues. I haven't finished the series, but it was like, wait, what is happening?
Oh, no.
What?
They put the problem right there and they still missed the mark somehow. Like, they were just like, nope.
Yeah. Like, the main character clearly sees that this is like bad behavior or whatever, but like I'm not sure it's actually going to get resolved or whatever. But it's a weird show. But anyway, yeah, it takes even like looking at like the world of show business or whatever to even be like famous and fat. There's like, it's very difficult in Japan to be a famous fat person. You have to like have a gimmick.
Yeah, look at what's her name, Naomi.
I mean, I don't think a lot of people outside of Japan know how she became like famous, which is like
that's a little questionable. Yeah,
I actually don't know this story.
Yeah, that's my only thing with her.
Oh,
I have a little bit of a
yeah. So Naomi Watanabe became famous. She's fat. She's a comedian, but her gimmick when she first got on the scene was impersonating Beyonce.
Yes.
Which
thank God.
Yeah, thank God.
Okay, but she would wear like this like a wig, and she'd also dress like a bee. So she would be like a fat Beyonce doing moves to her music, and she's a great dancer.
Yeah, she is. She's
so
really good.
Like, that's very talented. But it was just like, oh, Beyonce's here. Hi, Beyonce. And it's like every single time I saw this on TV, I was like, what?
Yeah, it really made me feel uncomfortable. I didn't like it.
Yeah.
I didn't like it at all. Yeah.
No,
it sucks. It's not a good.
That's a very nice way to put it. Speaking of story, can we start talking about how bad the storytelling choice was?
Yes. I mean, I think you've already started, but yeah.
Oh, and I will never stop.
Like 50 podcast episodes later. Oh god, that storytelling is so bad.
No, it's horrible. It's horrible. Like, so first of all, I have misophonia. So if like noises happen with no apparent reason, I freak out. Or if noises suddenly stop for no reason, I freak out. Faith has witnessed it.
Yeah, this week actually.
Yes, I literally freak out. I had a panic attack like a few months ago because of noise. No. Anyway, so the storytelling in Black School Rules, a bit of the Hulu special, but more in the original, is like literally the quote unquote story is just Sora and Juya waiting for their friends.
all this time talking about this.
And everything's just like they're like recalling of what happened. And instead of just playing everything, like they let us see what happened for like, I don't know, 10 seconds and then pause. Out of the blue, pause, and then start having Sora's and Julia's commentary. And I'd be like, it doesn't match! What's happening? Yes. And then it cuts back to their faces, which, I repeat, I don't find attractive.
Wathanya is going for blood. Like, you're just tearing apart.
I hated the storytelling choice. The story has its issues and it deserves to be talked about, blah blah blah, but the choice of how to tell that story was a huge problem for me.
Yes, I agree completely. It got me out of the story. I couldn't even concentrate on it that much because it kept going back to them, and I was like, oh god. And that's the thing, like, they're the most, well, especially Sora is like the most boring character ever. So I really don't care what he has to say. Like, I really don't.
He has no personality.
Like, I'm just like, yeah, I just don't care. I mean, she's a little interesting at least he had a personality. But, like, Sora has nothing. He's literally just, like, math, like, pseudoscience, like, or whatever. Like, that's all he is. Like, it's just, like, kid, please, just stop. You know, like, it's like, I don't want to see more of him. Less of him would have been better. Like, less. Like, a lot less. You know? Like, let us see the story. I want to see the story. I don't want to see you. I want to see the other character. You're the most boring character. I want to see someone else. Could we have got, like, Kinani, a day in the life of Kinani?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, something else. Like, anything else with them. And this show is short, too. This show was not even long. And I still felt like it was so long. Like, their commentary and going back to them felt like it dragged. And, like, it's a short show. Literally, like, 20-something minutes per episode? And it's still dragged. How?
I guess the drama was, I don't know, aiming for something.
I really want to know. Actually, I'm very curious. I would really like to know what, like, the writers and, like, the director had envisioned for this. Because, like, it's all over the place. And also, like, it's just so weird. Like, so many weird choices that I'm like, well, why did you make this? Like, why did you make it more complicated? Like, why did you do that?
Yeah. Well, did you notice anything about the storytelling choice, Ayumi? Or are you just agreeing?
No, I am agreeing. Like, it's a lot. I think that, like, I think the thing that was so confusing to me about the, like, even just, like, the first episode is, like, I could imagine there would be a way to do this kind of storytelling well, but they didn't. And the thing that was so frustrating was, like, the whole first episode I was just waiting for us to, like, actually meet Mao, and I was like,
yeah, I know.
Are we gonna actually talk to her? When are we gonna hear her voice? What does she sound like?
You see her hair flowing in the background.
Yeah.
Ooh, brown hair. Ooh, nice. Ooh, let's see her. Oh no.
Yeah,
no. It's
so wild. But yeah, no, I just am in agreement again with the both of you. Like, it's just, it doesn't make sense. It can be so jarring sometimes. So I'm really sorry you had to go through that with Tanya, because, like, I don't think I have misophonia. I have synesthesia, so that causes other problems with, like, regards to, like, sound not matching sometimes. But, like, it was just, like, so abrupt, and, like, did it make sense? And it was like, what's going on with these kids that are always at the beach or wherever, like, talking about their day?
Exactly. It was so weird.
Like, I need a reason for this narrative, you know? I don't know.
Yeah. You don't know until the end, and that's the problem, is that you're like, well, why is this guy at the beach? Why are these kids at the beach every day? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
You're like, what's happening? And it also, it just didn't make sense. There's no time for the story to just, like, be the story, for it to, like, breathe. Like, it's literally just like, okay, they were doing something. Oh, now let's talk about, now let's give our commentary that you didn't want. Like, it's like, I don't care. Can I just see Mao be Mao with her friends and her family? Like,
imagine the show without the voice. Like, it would.
Oh my god!
It would have been amazing.
Show. This would have been my top show, my top drama. Like my top recent drama. They would cut them out. If they would have cut them out, just let it be Mao and like the construction site guys.
And Kirari.
You know? And Azuma. Yeah, and Kirari. And even what's his name? The guy, the baseball one who can't play well. What's his name? Nana. Yeah. He was cool.
Yeah.
Like, you know, Mori Sensei.
I would be interested in watching like a day in the life of Mori Sensei.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What does he do? It's like so mysterious.
Yes. I would be way more interested in that.
Actually,
than anything with Sora and Chuya, especially Sora. Like, legit cut him out.
I feel like Mori Sensei has more personality than Sora.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, he does. Yeah, of course. Everyone has more personality.
But the drama...
Literally everyone. Even inanimate objects.
The drama tries to frame Mori Sensei as like this boring guy.
Really? I thought it was so interesting. I was way more interested in Mori Sensei than I was in the main character.
He's mysterious.
He's very mysterious.
Yeah, he's mysterious. He's interesting. And he's very like, he's just chill, I like chill people, I just really like...
He has appropriate relationship boundaries with the students.
Exactly. He's not trying to date him, okay? He's not trying to date his students. He's friendly to them, enough. Like, he helps them out. He helps them try to fight man, I guess, sort of. But, like... but he doesn't, like, have inappropriate relationships with them. Yes, he goes to Mao's house to check on her and stuff, but he's not trying to, like, date her or her mom, He's not trying to, like... do any weird stuff.
Normal
even though
teacher.
Exactly. He's a normal freaking teacher. He's the only normal teacher.
Yeah, the reason I said I felt like the drama was framing him as boring was that scene where he talks about math with Sora, and Sora's like, what is this guy talking about?
And Sora's like, don't talk about it?
Yeah!
Even though he spends like 30, it wasn't 30 minutes, but it was like at least 8 minutes in a 20-something minute show talking about math, like pseudo-science, astrology
it's
or
like
something.
blood types, but with math.
Like, some weird, it's like some weird, like, like, I guess, what would we say, like, what is it called? Like divination or something.
It's playing MASH, but for boys.
Yeah, like he's it's like it's matching. Yeah, it's matchmaking for boys.
Like the game, like MASH. Let's do the spiral.
Oh yeah, MASH. Yeah. It's it's MASH for boys.
Yes.
But the MASH that we had was much better. It was much cooler, much more interesting.
Yeah.
You weren't talking for like 8 minutes. You moved. You did things like this is great. Give me MASH! Put MASH in there! Oh my god. Yeah. Alright, then, let's move on to... I just wanted to talk about the names in this show, just because it was so hard for me to actually find correct readings. Because it was hard for me to hear in the show. And then when I looked online, some of the readings that I saw, like, were wrong.
And... and the names were
I had to
weird
really listen to the show
too.
And get the right ones.
The names in and of themselves were like not really something you would usually name people, like actual people. And because of that, like translations were like, I guess inconsistent is a good way to put it. There were a lot of inconsistencies in the names of the characters. I believe what was it again? Was it myasiandrama.com that said Mao was called Kyo or
like
something?
That. Like one of those wikis, like one of those like Asian drama wikis
a lot of those are like, they put them through like a Google Translate and that's the name that comes up,
okay,
like
that's why I was like
like
because I was confused. So I was like, wait a minute, no, I'm pretty sure it is Mao. And then it was like, no, it's Kyo.
Yeah. I think that's usually why, because it's like, if you don't know about kanji and all you see is that, it's like, usually you might expect that to be Kyo, not Mao. But also, like, the O in her name is, like, so irregular for a girl and everything. Like you said, I think it's especially, like, the main three. Their names are very irregular. Yeah, and Kirari also.
Oh, Kirari is just
like,
ridiculous.
Yeah, these are all things. Yeah, it's like, well, this technically, yes, you could have a name like this, but why would you?
Why would you do that to your child?
But I feel like also Kirari is just so irregular herself. She's just quite an irregular character, so maybe it matches her kind of personality. She's quite unconventional. So
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you also mentioned this, Ayumi, but I know my husband also, because I was trying to get him to help me with the names. So I was like, oh my god, like, I don't know why these names are wrong. This is different from what I'm hearing and stuff. And, like, he was like, yeah, the kanji is very, like, you know, like, strange. Like, the kanji for the names are also quite strange.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
they're kind of unconventional. And, yeah, but, like, he was saying it's, like, because they don't want to confuse them with, like, real people's names. Like, you know?
That's possible. I don't know about that so much. I was trying to look up like a baby name site or something because there are a lot of those that are pretty interesting.
Oh, okay.
And after all of this, they decided to name Sora Sora. I don't know, it just sounds so inherently boring.
Open Sky. I mean, it's not like a bad name.
It's not a bad name.
You know,
it's a pretty
fine,
good name, actually. I quite like Sora.
But the kanji is so weird. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, this is just like a side note that I had is like, you know, I just found this weird, like, this is just a weird thing that I found. Like, I was looking at one of these wikis and there was like, I think, this is like Mubi.com. For some reason, they had the like summary of Black school rules, but I don't know if they actually had the video. Like, I don't know. I don't remember that. But like, I remember they were just saying that, like, I remember it saying that Sora and Chuya both had feelings for Mao, and I was like, wait, no. Chuya has feelings for the teacher.
It's like,
not better, but not better. But at least it's fine for him. It's okay for him to have feelings for the teacher. It's just that the teacher reciprocates, and that's the problem.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought that was just weird that the summary was like they both have feelings for the same girl, and it's like, no. They don't.
Yeah, I remember seeing those descriptions and like getting a completely different expectation for how the show was going to go because of that.
Yeah. I'm glad they didn't do that though. I'm glad they didn't make some weird love triangle. Because
it would have been,
weird.
Oh my god.
That's the one good thing about the show. They did not do a love triangle. Thank God. At least not with the main characters. Thank goodness. I don't know. Maybe there's something going on. Another character I have no idea about. Okay.
Sure.
All right.
Yeah.
And then I just had a list of like some of the ridiculous rules. Like, you know, of course, you know, must have black hair. Also, your skirts have to, of course, be a certain length. They measure them. Also, you can't wear ponytails, which, you know, I don't, because they, I guess, will make boys feel sexually aroused.
Yeah, I've heard that. That's a thing that like necks are like, whoa, baby. And it's like,
excuse
me?
me?
Okay.
You also apparently can't wear like fancy hair accessories, even though Tamagami Sensei totally has. But
yeah, just to explain the neck thing for a second. It is something that's like a traditional Japanese thing because it like stems from like sexualization of geisha and stuff like that. Like it's it's like the whole thing. It's like the like when you're looking at her, like getting to see her bare neck is like a whole like sensual thing. So it's like there's like a precedent for that, but it's like it's, you know, 2019 when this comes out, it's kind of weird to assume that like boys are still like just going goo goo gaga for necks.
And even if they are, it's not the girl's, like, you know, like she doesn't have to like cover, you know, like her neck just because some guys go, like, that's not her problem, you know, like that's the boy's problem, like, you know, like yeah. And then like boys can't have long hair, you know. You're not allowed to have a part-time job. We talked about those things. They can't use their smartphones. Also, apparently, you can't wear, like, a scarf or tights, even though it's cold outside.
And they're supposed to wear those tiny, like, mini skirts, I would call them.
Yeah, with no tights, which, I mean, I think it depends on the school, but, like, one of the rules, I think, were that for this, depending on the school, you can't wear tights apparently, which maybe that's too sexual too, I don't know. And then also
If you've ever been on social media on Tights Day in Japan, that is definitely.
Yeah, I know. I know it's a thing, but it's like still like just ew. I'm just like okay, yeah. Should not be these girls' problems. Like if someone's sexualizing their like tightsy, right? And then the whole thing that I've heard a lot online as well about the panties having to be white, which I don't know who does these checks. But
right? It's like
excuse me.
I would hope that it's not like something that's regularly being but like also it could also be referencing like undergarments in general. Though for me it's like I'm pretty sure if you wear a white bra that would be visible depending on what like your uniform is.
That's true.
But
yeah, and then of course can't have social media accounts apparently, but like okay. Whatever. Like everyone has
social media accounts.
Yeah.
Everyone has Line. Everyone has like
like everyone has.
Everyone has TikTok.
Yeah, exactly. Especially kids out all of them have TikTok. So yeah, no way that no one's following. Like no one is following. But yeah, there's a lot of ridiculous rules that apparently, according to the principal of this series, we need in order to make sure people live, save lives.
Is it weird that like half of these are like so that the quote unquote so that the boys won't get aroused?
Well, certainly Japan's not the only country with those kind of rules. So
far from it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is a common thing, right? It's like, oh, we don't want the boys to be distracted. It's like, what about the girls? Like, they have to leave school because they had, spaghetti straps or whatever, like in the U.S., It's like literally you miss class because you had some spaghetti straps on because you have to wait for your parents to come get it. If they can't come, then you can't go to class, and so you've missed school because of this, which was just silly, like... Anyway. Okay, anyway.
Yep.
a lot of silly rules everywhere. Yeah, so I just wanted to like briefly talk about like the stigmatization of the color black and the word black, because when I heard this title, when I first heard Black School Rules, it's like, I mean, I knew what it meant because I know like in Japan, black is like has a negative connotation, it does in many cultures, but I mean like to say something black before something means that it's usually negative or bad in some kind of way, and so. Just want to talk a little bit about that and then how it affects like black people and maybe black cats. I'm not sure. I've heard conflicting things.
Yeah, I've heard that.
I've heard conflicting things actually when I looked it up. So So like the color black, it often has a negative connotation. Not in every culture, but in a lot of cultures, in many countries and cultures around the world. Black is usually like death, and therefore it's viewed as bad or whatever. And so there are other images of black being cool and stylish, but the negative connotations tend to be more pervasive in my experience. And then especially in countries like Asia, like especially if you are someone who has darker skin, that's usually seen as a negative. Like it's usually something that is stigmatized and seen as like, oh, something you want to change because it's like, why would you want to be dark? That's bad, I guess.
Yeah.
And so like just having that negative connotation, even though I know in this case it's like for the rules saying like they're bad rules, I also kind of feel this weird like I've always felt this kind of weird thing of like, okay, but why does that have to mean it's bad? Like I don't know, like it's just it's a thing. It's a thing that like I'm not like super like like I'm not like, oh my god, like I said black or like that, but like it's just like it is something I think about. I do think about it. It does. It's something that
that's
comes,
like
that's something that affects me.
Go on, sorry.
I was just saying, like, it's something that, I know also in this country, like in Japan, there's also just a negative stigma about, like, blackness in general. And so when I see these kind of words, like, it kind of, like, I guess triggers those kind of, I guess, associations to me. And I'm like, okay, so it's black, so it's bad. And it's like, does that extend into like actual people as well?
I would hope not, but then again, one can only hope. What this was reminding me of is back when I was job hunting. At first, I had an offer from like a company that, in one word, I could describe it as capitalistic. I mean, all companies are capitalistic,
Yeah,
but like,
so it's happening.
okay, I guess I'll use the E word. It was exploitative.
Oh, that's also capitalistic. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, we can have a whole podcast about capitalism, but
Yes. Yep.
for now, let's focus on the exploitation. Obviously, I did not want to be exploited. So I was looking for like a different job, and I got an offer from the place that I'm currently working at that, as far as I know, is not exploiting me. Like the work is tough, but
Yay.
as far as I know, they're not exploiting me. And I remember telling a friend about this job offer, and you know how sometimes people, especially English-speaking people that come to Japan, sometimes they would like incorporate like Japanese words and concepts into, you know,
I do that,
it's a totally normal thing. But I told my friend about this offer, and they were like, "Oh, so you're not gonna work at that black company anymore?" And I'm like, "Sorry, what?"
It sounds so weird English. It's so uncomfortable.
It took me like 2 seconds to be like, "Oh,
did you say it as, like,
I see what you mean."
Black? They didn't say blacku. They said black. Like, just like black.
Yeah.
Like that. Oh God. Yeah, that's
Because they're an English-speaking person.
Yeah, but like I feel like even if you are an English speaking person, a lot of times they will say certain words. Like if it's a Japanese word that people know really well, they'll say it like with the Japanese pronunciation. Just, you know, I mean that's what I do at least. I don't know, but I just yeah, it's just weird for me. Someone be like that black company. It's like, okay.
I was like, wait, what company? And then I got what they meant, and I was like, oh, yeah, no, I'm not working at that exploitative company. I get why you said black, but okay, let's move on. Yeah, it is definitely a thing. And, yeah.
It's weird. I mean, like for me, it's like, you know, I don't want to be that person who's like, you know, oh, you said black, so that's offensive. Because I don't think so. Even though there are some white people who seem to think that, because like I've had them whisper black at me before. Like they're like, you know, he was.
Oh my god! Yes.
And like so I think there are people who definitely associate blackness as something bad or something negative that you're not supposed to say. And I think the whole point, like the whole reason why that is a thing, is because black has had such a negative connotation, especially in like, for example, the U.S. or something like that. Like being a black person has been seen as bad, and so like a lot of people are like, oh, I'd rather be called African American or be called something else because, you know, black has been stigmatized for so long, like the word black itself, you know, that we just don't want to be, you know, now people are more like, you know, I'm black, you know, and they're fine with saying it. But like there was a time where like they wouldn't even want to say that because it was so negative, right? And so it's like, I do understand. And then I know some white people feel afraid to say black because they're afraid they'll offend black people by saying black, even though black is what we are. And it's, you know, it's a whole thing like that. But like, I also, even though Japan is a different culture, you know, of course they have different things, there is still this like, you know, anti-black kind of stigma that's here. And so I do always wonder, like, when they say like black, you know, kaisha, or like black, whatever, you know, I do wonder, like, does that stigma extend to black people as well? You know, like, even though it is for, you know, this is not for like real people, this is for like things and like stuff. I still like, because I know there's such an anti-blackness here, I still cannot like completely separate it as like two separate things. Like I still kind of see a mix of like, yeah, maybe they're like, you know, of course they're not talking about me, you know, they're not talking about people, but still like they probably have a negative stigma against black people because that's like the culture. You know, so it's something I'm always like, you know, it's weird, especially if it was like said in English. I know they would have to probably change the title because it would just not be like appropriate.
Yeah, that reminded me of like I haven't had this in a while, but there have been a few times where I had to, like, you know, as a teacher, tell people that when they're tanning, they cannot say
yes, that is a thing. Oh my god, that's right. That's another thing, is that they will say black instead of like tan or like what is it, getting darker or darkening. Like they'll say black specifically because that's what they say in Japanese, right? And so they'll say it, and it's like in English that sounds awful. Like it's fine in Japanese, but in English it's like, ooh, so cringy. Like it's like, yeah, it's just uncomfortable. Like I'm just like, oh, I mean black, and I'm like, ooh, no.
Yeah, I remember the first time I heard it, it really took me, it caught me off guard, to say the least.
It's uncomfortable. Yeah, no, and also, you know that Pokemon, was it Blackie?
Yeah. Oh god,
they couldn't find a better name.
Well, it's for them, though. That doesn't mean anything, right? It just means, like, oh, it's a dark Pokemon, right?
Yeah. I'm trying to remember. There is another one. I mean, there's a lot of things that are, like, accidentally racist in Japanese culture. And I'm trying to remember. There was another thing recently that I experienced with that word. That I think I'm trying to remember. Oh no, I think it was from something I was watching that's like a cartoon from the 90s where there was like a sports team, and they used that. And I was like, oh no, that's not good. And then I was like,
or the darkies.
That was the name of it. That's the name of the team. Like it was like a very cool, like, you know how like there's like shirts versus skins or whatever. It's like that kind of like, it wasn't like the actual team name, but it was the name that they were going with, and I was like, what? Because it was like, oh, some of them have white shirts and some of them have black shirts. It's so weird. And I was trying to remember if there's anything else to that extent. Recently, I haven't seen much of that, though. There is there's that one like Romeo and Juliet story called Boarding School Juliet. That's like a kind of curious story in which there's like this kind of pseudo Europe versus pseudo Asia like thing, and the Romeo and Juliet story is there. But like they're going to, like, the kids from both groups are going to the same school, and they're called the White Cats and the Black Doggies. That's the two house names.
Okay.
It's like,
I will.
Right?
I guess because I just found that hilarious, I'll let it pass for me personally. But yeah, it is kind of strange. I guess it's like, okay.
This is also not also as in one word. It's all like ALLSO. This is also interesting for me as someone who's from who is born and raised in a country where, you know, when your skin gets darker, you say, "Oh, I'm getting blacker," like if you transliterate the thing. So yeah, people around me, I guess back home, would say like, "Oh, you're getting blacker," and I'd be like, "No." but thankfully, because it's very uncommon for Lao people to speak English fluently. I mean, a lot of people can speak English quite fluently, but that is like more of a privileged thing. Like people in the capital tend to speak English more, but even then they're a minority, and like that's like extends even more when you include the whole country, because Laos is not just its capital. Anyway, back to the black thing. I wanted also to mention in Japanese, when you say someone is guilty, you say kuro, and when someone is innocent, you say shiro.
Yeah, see these kind of stigmas.
Yeah, like guilty black, innocent white. Like, excuse me?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's like I mean, that's a very specific thing here. But I also think, like, in general, like, we tend to think of, like, innocent, pure things being white, right? Like, you know, in a lot of cultures. And then, like, evil, bad, things as being dark or black, and like it's just a stigma that's a lot of places, honestly. Like I mean, almost everywhere I've been, at least, it's been a thing. But I do feel like it does extend to actual people a lot of times as well. Like they see you, if you're darker, you're seen as less innocent. You're seen as less, pure. You're seen as like someone who could do crime more. Like I've seen that coding even in like shows, right? Like I remember I told you, Wathanya, about what was it? F4 Thailand, which I think is the best version of Hanare Dango I've ever seen. But at the same time, I remember there were some bad guys who were like quite darker than the other people, and they just happened to be darker, and it was just like, oh, the bad people are dark, and like, it just like this kind of thing just kind of happens. Like I think it's kind of like I think it's like subconscious. Like I don't even think they like think about it. It's unconscious. Like I don't think they're actually being like, okay, you're dark, bad. I don't think that's what they're doing. But like I think subconsciously, well, I hope not. But like subconsciously, they just see like, oh, yeah, you'd be perfect for the villain. Darker person, like just like how all the black people are stealing and like assaulting people with basketballs. Like, I mean, that's just how it is.
Yeah, that's literally why. To bring it back to Magical Girls, that's the reason why Sailor Pluto is the only darker
until I got
member
older.
of the Sailor Scouts.
I had no idea she was actually like darker skinned. Like I didn't notice. Yeah.
Well, for one thing, it's like one shade darker, but it's also like it's something that like the author herself, Takeuchi, said she designed the character to be darker as like this kind of like ethereal beauty type of thing, and like to make her more literally dark and mysterious literally do or whatever. So I think Princess Weeks recently wrote about it. So it's but it's like this very unfortunate reality of that. It just
there's no smoke without fire.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like I kind of feel like maybe I'm talking about, I kind of feel like maybe I'm God, I can't think of words, but like maybe I'm reading too much into it, or maybe I'm thinking too much. Sometimes I think that because I'm like, well, they don't literally mean me as a person, a black person, or they don't literally mean black people, but at the same time, it's like you see it in the culture, like you see it, it's there, like it, whether they, it's like maybe they're not like blatantly, well, sometimes they're blatantly like black, bad, but like but usually they're not like black bad, they're usually like they might not say it like directly, but like it's like they just show it through like their media, through like their society. You see how it is, how they talk to people who get darker in this country. Like I remember my ex-boyfriend, he's Japanese, but he tanned quite easily. Like I know in the summer times we'd be at the same complexion. And I remember he said his friends would tease him and be like, "Oh, you're like Ethiopian or blah 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 blah." And I'm like, what the fuck? Like really messed up stuff. Like you can't be dark in this country; they won't allow you. Like just like I remember, even me, I'm a black person, and again, not to throw my my husband's grandmother under the bus again, but I remember when I first went to visit his house, and like. She talked to me. She was very friendly. Everyone was very friendly to me. But I remember she was like, because the thing is, my outer arms are quite darker than the rest of my skin. Like, because, they're more exposed to the sun. And especially in the summer, they get a lot darker. And so I remember her being like, oh, why? Like, she asked, like, why are your arms so dark? And it's like, I'm black. Like I don't know what to say to the. Like, I don't want to answer this question. Like what did you think I was? Like what did you think I was? Like I wonder. But like she literally was like, why are your arms so much dark? And I've had other people ask that too. Like even my ex boyfriend's mother also asked like why my arms were darker, and I'm like, well, I don't know. They just tan more easily. Like it's like but so. It's a thing,
Yep.
Oh, it reminds me of the first time I went back to visit my family after coming to Japan. Actually, it was the second time, because it was the first time I came, I went back after winter holidays or something. But the second time I went back to visit, it was during summer, right? And I'm sure both of you have experienced the Japanese summer.
Yes.
I tanned. Not that much, actually.
Oh, no.
I don't tan very easily, but I tanned.
Yeah, you don't get that tan. I mean, from what I've seen.
So I went back to visit my family, and I got this comment. I think it was like on day 2 of my arrival. It was like,
you know where the importance lies. You know where the values are.
Yeah, the person was like, "Wait, you went to Japan? Oh, I would have thought you went to Africa." And I'm like,
"Oh my god! Wow, that's so blatant. That's so blatant.
Wow.
Oh my god! Ugh. I'm glad I don't speak Laos." Someone said it to me. Ready to put them hands up. Well, they wouldn't say it to me because they already think I'm African, right?
ooh, ooh.
Oh no! Oh no!
Yeah, no, the anti-blackness or the how should I put this? Insensitivity towards yes, or anything associated with darker tones or being black is apparent.
Yes.
In literally everywhere I've been.
Yeah, actually, everywhere. Actually, I can't think of a place that it's not. I mean, I haven't been to many countries in Africa though, so I don't know. But I feel like even in some places in Africa, still there's a stigma against being darker skinned as well. Actually, from what I've heard. So yeah, it is a thing.
Oh, I actually know something about somewhere I have never been to. So there was a time when I was dating an Indian guy. He was, in his own words, much darker than the typical Indian.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
From my experience, I think, like many people, there are very large.
There's so many different. I've seen so many different
among South Asians, but
yeah.
So I don't understand. But okay.
I guess the average would be similar to our friend who actually is not Indian. You know, our British friend who, that would, I guess, be the average. I don't know.
Yeah, you don't know. You don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know.
You don't know what we say, do you? What time?
Yeah. But from what that person that I dated told me, it's closer to that skin tone. And his skin tone is actually darker than, like, a lot of black people I've met, actually.
Yeah, I've met some Indian people like that, yeah.
And he told me that he had always been called, like, I don't know, coal or something.
Oh no. Oh, that's sad.
Okay.
Yeah, it's...
What's that?
Yeah,
wow.
he had always been made fun of for his darker skin.
That's so sad. Like, that's the thing. It's like, this is why I just, it's so weird to me when people are like, oh, well, people just want to be light. That's their thing. That's, whatever. Who can, like, that's just what they see as being beautiful. That's fine, whatever. And it's like, yeah, it's fine if you want to be light or white or whatever. But it's like, literally, you cannot be dark. Like, people won't allow you. Like, they're like, how dare you, like, not be white? Like, what's wrong with you? Like, you literally get bullied and, like, harassed for not being light. And, like, even in black cultures, like, even in, like, in the U.S. and black communities, if you're too dark, people will say stuff. People make comments. Like, it's like you literally cannot be a dark-skinned person. like, they won't allow you. Like, they're just like, no, what's wrong with you? Why? Like,
so let me put this in other words. You are not allowed to be darker skin in the black community in the U.S.
Yeah. Even in the black community, in the U.S., there's a lot of stigma against, there's a lot of jokes about, like, oh, your mom's so black, blah, 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 blah. Like, there's a lot of stuff that goes on where people are, like, stigmatized for being black. And if you're a darker-skinned black person, especially a darker-skinned black woman, like, it's tough. Like, it's tough out there. Like it's a thing. Like, and we're literally black. Like, we're literally black, but it's still stigmatized. So, yeah, I don't know what to say. I don't know what else I can say. But yeah, stigmatization against black, the word, and the people.
Yeah.
Because we've already talked about most of the special throughout this episode, so I just wanted to bring up about Chuya and Tamagami Sensei, because like in the special they talk about like this bridge where Mao and Ian also meet on, where like if you meet on it, it's apparently you're like destined to meet each other or be there or something. Like there's some kind of superstition on the bridge or whatever about the bridge. And so Tamagami Sensei actually like Chuya meets Tamagami Sensei on that bridge. So she's actually right there. This is the day she's like mourning her dead teacher / I guess boyfriend.
Let's go with teacher.
Teacher.
At this point, we know who we're talking about, yes, I believe.
Yes. And Chuya happens to be on the bridge and happens to like see her and talks to her and comforts her a little bit. And the way the drama frames it, it just seems like it very much feels like this like drama, like shorthand for like, okay, these two are destined to be together. Because like in these dramas, pretty much if you're a boy and a girl and you meet as children and you grow up and you're still in contact with each other in some kind of way, you will be together. You will get married. Like your life is set. You are with that person. There's no one else you can be with. Like that's literally drama. Like, you know, that's how it goes. That's the trope. That's it.
Of course,
like,
the Bridge of Destiny.
That's how it's framed. Yeah. It's the Bridge of Destiny, and also, they met on the Bridge of Destiny, and they both met as children, and now she's teaching at his school, and he's in love with her still. He's probably been in love with her the entire time, right? Since he saw her, right? That's why he's probably in love with her. And so, like, yeah, it's framed in this way that eventually, someday, maybe when he's, you know, a full adult, they'll get together or something, which is still really creepy to me, but, like, okay, whatever. Drama.
Like, it's not necessarily sexualization, but like the romanticization of children is, I feel, is an inherently creepy thing. Like it could just be my personal feelings, but this is coming from like hearing people say, "Oh, you can't be gay. It's too young to tell," or whatever.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Children who are like, I don't know, 1 or 2 that just happen to hold hands because that's what children do. They're like, "Oh, you found a girlfriend."
Yeah, they love placing that on them.
Even earlier than that, they're like baby clothes that would be like, "Oh, lady killer," or whatever.
God, it's like literally
a baby.
Like, leave them alone. Let them just be an infant. Like, oh my god, yeah, it's so creepy. Like, it's like I love how you know, and by that I mean I hate it, but like, you know, I love how like people are always like, you know, people are like anti like, you know, LGBTQ plus anything, are like, oh, they're pushing their agenda on us and blah blah blah. It's like literally you guys are like making infants like, you know, into relationships. You're trying to push infants into like being together. It's like they literally don't even know what's going on. Like they cannot make any decisions of their own. And you're like, yes, they're dating. It's like, what? Like what?
They can barely like pick what they want to eat.
Yeah, they can't. They literally can't. They're an infant. They don't know. They just want something. Like, they don't know what to ask for. Like, it's literally they can't make any decision on their own. They have no idea what's going on. And you're like, oh, wasn't that cute? They're, oh, like, he's going to be a lady killer. It's like, what? Like, little child, like little infant, actually. Not even child, infant. Like, it's really bad. It's really bad. And, like, the thing is, they always frame this stuff as cute and romantic. And, yeah, it's kind of weird to me because it's like, why would you want to do that? Why would you want your kid to be, like, destined to be with someone from the time they're a child and then they have to get together because this, you know, it's fate or whatever? I don't think that's, like, cute. Like, I don't know. I don't find that romantic. But they love doing it in these dramas. Like, they love having these children meet and then be like, well, they're going to be together, and they grow up and they meet again, and it's like, wow, they're just destined, and it's like, oh, all right. And especially since Tamagami Sensei definitely exchanged some kind of information, whether it was social media, email, something, with Sora. Like, I feel like it kind of insinuates... Oh, Chuya, sorry, Chuya. With Chuya, like, I'm sorry, so I don't know why Soda's, like, on my brain right now, but, anyway, like, it kind of just implies, maybe somewhat subtly, that, like, maybe something's gonna happen in the future to me. Like, that's what it reads to me. Now, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but it seems kind of weird that, like, they exchange, like, information, and then also, you know, in the special, they're like, oh, they met on this special bridge, and, you know, it seems like the drama's trying to put something more in there, but they know they can't fully do it because, you know, they'll get in trouble, because it's like, no, we can't have a trial and a teacher date.
Really?
Well, it seems like they might care. I don't know, because they don't do it, so I'm, like, assuming they kind of cared at least, but it's like, I feel like it's still, like, implied, though, that, like, they're probably going to get together, or, like, something's going to happen in the future, because, like, they've exchanged, you know, information, and also they met on the Bridge of Destiny, and, like, you know, like, it's just, like, the drama is framing it so much, like, they're going to get together, and also she was in a similar relationship when she was a kid. Like, it's just...
Oh my god, yeah.
It just seems heavily implied.
Yeah, this actually seems like a good time to wrap up.
yes. Let's not get into anymore.
It's fine.
Yes.
In the last section of our show, we give our overall rating for the drama as a whole, based on its content, representation, and whether we think it's a good drama overall. We rate the shows on a scale from 1 to 5 kisses, with 5 being the highest and 1 the lowest. You also get to choose which character or characters you want to give your kisses to.
Or anything. It could be an animal, it could be an inanimate object.
It could be an animal. I believe you gave your kisses to animals.
Yeah, for Love Slave, yes. Yes. None of the humans deserved it.
Yes, well, you can take it from here, because I think this rating system was inspired by your favorite podcast.
Yes, which Ayumi was on the Bechdel cast. Yeah, Ayumi was on there. I'm so jealous. Yeah, like, actually talked. Yes, one day.
Your time will
notice
come,
me.
for sure.
Notice me. Okay. But yeah, so you were actually on there, Ayumi, and you talked about one of my favorite Ghibli movies, Spirited Away. And it was such an awesome episode. I really liked it. I really learned a lot, especially about, like, Japanese culture in the movie that I didn't notice, you know, when I watched it. So,
yeah, it was so fun to be on that podcast, just like it was fun to be here. So, yeah.
I'm 1 degree closer to the Bechdel cast.
I'm yay, but at this, I'm yay, like, yay, I'm glad she's having fun, but also, yay, this is probably, like, would not, like, I can't compare our new podcast to, something that existed for much longer, like the Bechdel cast. I assume they have more experience.
Oh, yes. The years. Yes.
They are professionals.
They're a professional team and everything, like, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll have to give that episode a listen sometime, but, time.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Faith, how many kisses would you give this show, and why? I'm asking why, as in, why would you give any kisses to the show?
I'm still thinking about this, oh my god.
And if you decide to give them kisses, well, we have to give them kisses because it's from 1 to 5 and 0 to 5.
Well, you know what? I said 1 to 5, but you can say 0. Like, I support zeros, you know, or 0.5s. I think, yeah, be free with it, yeah.
But yeah, you can go ahead. Let me know how many kisses you're giving the show and who you're giving these kisses to.
Okay. I think did I give Love Slave 2, or is it like something more than that?
I think it was 2, yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. It's hard. Because there are, like I said, there are some good things about this show. I do like they attempted at representation. I like there were 2 black characters, and they were very different. I like that. Okay. All right. Even though I think Love Slave is a much better story, even though it's an awful story, but like it is a more it's an awful story, but it's a more like engaging story. Like, I actually cared about the story, even though I didn't like the characters at all. I liked watching the story. It was more enjoyable than this. So I will give this a 2 as well, just because they did try to do representation, and for Japan, that's a lot. Like, they did at least attempt. Like, they had 2 black characters. That's a lot for this. That's a lot. That's a lot for a drama here. And yeah, like, they usually don't have one. And they weren't villains. They weren't evil. Like, we actually sympathized with them, and, like, they had rights. They wanted to get rights. They had allies, like, Inoue-san standing up for them, and, like, talking about their side of the story, like, trying to give their perspective. Like, oh my god, like, just, yeah, there's a lot of good things in the show, even though, like we said before, the storytelling is horrible. I would say watchability, I would give it a 1. Because the storytelling is awful. Like, the, pacing's bad. Like, it's all over the place. It's jumping up. We don't even get a resolution. Like, literally, she just dyes her hair, and that's it. Like, there's no, like, they spend all this time talking about rules, and they don't actually change anything about the school. So, I don't think narratively it's good. Like, I think it's a very bad narrative. It's a very bad story. But I do like that they at least try to do some representation. They put some stuff in there. They did put some good things in there. There are some good things in there that you can take from this, and I'm glad that it exists. But yeah, I wish they would have made the story more compelling, and I wish they would have made Mao the main character. And I just wish it would have been about Mao and her life living as, being Hafu in Japan, and her perspective on things, like, more. That would have been nice. But yeah, okay, I'll give it a 2, and I will give my kisses to, I mean, come on, Kofi. Come on, Kofi. Like, he's cool. I love Kofi. And, who else? Okay, Mao. Just because she deserved better. I think she deserved, to be the lead, honestly. We need to know more about her. Yeah, I'll give 2 to them. Yeah. How about you, Wathanya? What? How many how many kisses? see, I got confused, because, like, that's what they How many kisses are you going to give the show, if you're giving them any at all? And which characters, if you have any you actually like, that you would give them to?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking about. So, I'll give it 1.5 kisses.
Okay. That's still pretty good for you, I think.
The watchability is it gets 0 kisses from me. The watchability is like, no. And the listenability is also like a minus kiss. If you have misophonia, please don't watch this show. It will trigger you. Let's see. 1.5 kisses. I will give half a kiss to Mao, because I do think she deserves better. Half a kiss to Kofi, because I think he's pretty cool.
It that way. Oh, I should have done that.
And half a kiss to Kirari, because I don't know. I also think she deserves better.
Yeah, I do. I agree with you.
I wanted to give Mori Sensei a kiss because he deserves better, but at the same time he seems content.
He's just chilling.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I don't need kisses, so I'm not gonna push my kiss onto him.
Respect his boundaries.
Yes.
Unlike Otoa Sensei.
Yes. No. But yeah, the reason I'm giving the show 1.5 kisses is basically that, on the one hand, I like that it's confronting something that is just accepted as the normal thing to be, I guess, in Japan.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm a bit disappointed that, like, again, even in the drama, there's no change.
Yeah.
Because that is what happens so often in not activism as we understand it, but like in like trying to change things in Japan, or like trying to confront things in Japan. You can confront it. You can complain about it. You can like even point out its blatant like horrible things, but you cannot ever change. So that I was a bit disappointed that nothing really was changed.
Like, not even the drama. Special. Not even, like, the fictional drama that you could literally do anything you want, and they still couldn't change the rules.
Yeah, so I'm quite disappointed that I didn't see any sort of change, even though it's literally supposed to be the plot.
Yeah, and I think that's what we were talking about last time we talked, was that, like, Sora was apparently Mao's hero, but he literally did nothing.
He did nothing. All he did was walk up to her and be like, "You should dye your hair." That's from me. What about you, Ayumi? What rating would you give the show, and who would you give your kisses to, if any? For both the rating and the kisses.
This. This is, for me, this is also a really tough one, because you have to acknowledge, like, both what they tried to do, which is a lot more than most shows in Japan, and then also, like, what they failed at, like you both said. So for me, I think that, there are, so if, like, okay, for one thing, I doubt there were any, like, people that were not just, like, non-mixed Japanese behind the scenes of this production.
I'd be surprised.
But like, if in the right hands, it could be a very good show, a good idea to, like, talk about these things. I understand why they made these boring ass boys the main characters, but, like, because it's like this idea of, like, they are going to be more relatable somehow by just not giving Sora personality at all.
It's literally like those, what is it, like, the character, like, those characters that you just, like, like in a game or something, they're just there for you to, like, put your own, like, it's just for you to be you. It's a project yourself. Exactly.
Project yourself onto the character. Yeah. So there's that. So, like, I do think that, like, this would have been very good if it had just been about Mao and so on. But that being said, obviously, like, there were a lot of good things about the show, and then at the same time, like, they just faltered in a lot of ways. So I am going to also give this 2 kisses for that reason, because, like, it kind of just evens out to, like, an okay show. I don't know if it's a show that I would, like, be able to recommend people. I mean, for one thing, because it's very inaccessible, but also, like, just because, like, I'd have to, like, give a whole laundry list of caveats. But it is a fascinating show still.
Yeah,
like,
it's very interesting in a way.
Yeah.
Like, that exists.
Was definitely an experience.
Yeah. And as for who gets those kisses, I think I'm going to go ahead and give one to Mao and one to Kirari, because they were the 2 characters that, like, I felt the most like I wanted to see more of their lives. Like, the specials did give us more of Mao's life. I would like to see more of Kirari's life. I think, there's, like, there could be so much more story here.
Yeah, because they actually had some development, unlike the main characters who I think we're supposed to care about. I usually you do. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. Ayumi's already kind of gotten into this a little bit, but would you recommend this show, Wathanya?
I am not a fan of the storytelling at all. I am not a fan of the visuals. The quality was pretty good, actually, but because of all the sudden freezes and everything, I feel like it would not be very, like, it breaks immersion. And audio wise, it's horrible. Yeah. And Julius doesn't open his mouth often enough.
I mean, I feel like that's very, like I said before,
he talks a lot,
very, like, real.
but he doesn't open his mouth.
That's real, like, Japanese guy. But yeah, no, it does suck when you're, like, trying to listen, and it's
Whales were cool when I, like, talk, because I often open my mouth. Because that's what he sounds like to me. And his voice too.
It's true, but it's hilarious.
Yeah.
You say it like that.
You should.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. What about you, Faith? Would you recommend it? I mean, it was an experience for me. It was interesting. I don't know if I would recommend it.
Yeah. Overall, okay, so I think I would recommend it just because, like I said, it does have some diversity. It does actually, like, go against the grain. Because, you know, especially, like I said before, I think probably in, like, either part 1 or part 2, I was, like, saying how, like, a lot of people see Japan as this place that's, like, you know, just completely conforming and, like, everyone just follows the rules and, you know, is, like, you know, like, we must follow rules because we must, and that's how everyone thinks. And it's, like, nice to see some variation, like a deviation from that mindset, especially with young people. You know, it's nice to see that, even though it led to almost nothing. But, like, it's still nice that they at least had the ideas and, like, they're saying, okay, yes, you should fight against the system. Yeah, no, it's not right that Mal has to dye her hair. She shouldn't have to, but, like, you know, we have to do it to, like, I guess get other things done, even though they did nothing. But, like, you know, but it's like they did at least question it, which is something you don't see a lot portrayed in, you know, like, especially if you're not in Japan. Like, I think a lot of people don't see that. And so I would recommend it as, like, okay, well, here's something that shows, you know, Japanese young people standing up, you know, for the rights and, like, wanting to help others. And you even see, like, especially, I'm going to say it again, Inoue being an ally for the workers at the factory. That's something you do not see in Japanese media. Like, that is, like, so rare. Almost always, if it's, like, there's a foreigner there, it's always, like, oh, this weird foreigner with their weird foreign ideas and blah, 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 blah. And it's, like, you know, and it's, like, they just don't, they see us, like, literally aliens. Like, we like, literally,
we have alien
just,
cards. We are aliens.
Incomprehensible to them, right? But, like,
okay,
here, you know, like, no, these, yes. Yeah, exactly. And so, like, it's like, you know, but for Inoue-san, he literally is like, oh no, like, if you're gonna talk about them, you're talking about me. And he stands up for them, and he, like, raps back at Kunani, like, no, like, I don't know what you're talking about, like, you know, like, he literally stands up for them and is, like, there for them and, like, supports them, and, like, I have never seen that in Japanese media, like, ever. So I've barely seen that in real life, honestly. To be real, like, I have not seen that much in real life either. So if that can inspire someone to, like, you know, treat, you know, people who are different, like, you know, in case of Japan, like, foreigners, obvious foreigners, like, you know, like they're humans, I say great, you know. So I would recommend it in that way, that I think it shows there are some good moments in it that I think people should see, especially Japanese people. But would I recommend it as, like, a good show to watch? No. No, mostly just for, like, there's a little bit of, you know, good representation here and there, little pockets of it. Like, also Azuma and his, you know, with the stuttering and things like that. Like, that's also, I think, good representation. You know, so there's, like, little pockets of really good representation that I would recommend. So really, like, clips, you know, like, maybe look at this scene, look at that scene, but the whole thing, no.
It's a step in a direction.
Yeah. Exactly. They try. How about you, Ayumi? Would you recommend? I mean, you've kind of already talked about it, but
yeah. I think. I mean, I agree with both of you here. Like, I think that this show is something I would recommend as, like, an example of, like, this is an attempt, not necessarily a good attempt, but there was an attempt to, you know, cover these topics and so on. So for me, it's like more of an interesting kind of case study of media than an actual, like, good narrative product. But yeah, so I think that it's, like, yeah, again, worth discussing. Obviously, I came on this podcast to discuss it because I was so fascinated with the very concept of this thing. And happy to come back to talk about something that has nothing to do with Japanese people, because that's most Japanese media. But like, I think it's just, like, very much like it's a trope thing, but it's, like, it just it's interesting. Like, it's like they're trying, and so I think that it's, like, you have to kind of acknowledge it and, like, just kind of put it somewhere, like, this is a kind of step in a possible
this could be a stepping stone
someday
for something better.
Yeah. I would hope.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I feel. I feel it's like I really want to know. I wonder if there's, like, interviews with, like, the directors and the writers and shit. Like, I really would love to listen to that. Like, I really love to hear, like, what they were going for, because, like, it just seems like they must have had some because this is not like a typical like show, right? Like they must have had some ideas of what they wanted to show, and like I said, they had 2 black people. I mean, I'm sure it wasn't on purpose, but still, they had 2 black people. Like I just can't get over it. It's a lot. It's a lot for Japan.
It sounds to me like the show like. I think the show, like, the idea, the concept is really good, but the execution was, questionable.
Yeah, maybe better, like Ayumi said before, like, maybe it had been better people with, better vision and knew how to tell stories. Yes. Also, that would maybe they wouldn't have had a Confederate flag as like in the lunch scene. But I think it was a good attempt. But also, like Ayumi said, also it's hard to recommend because it's not accessible to most people because there's no English subtitles, and I don't blame anyone for not wanting to subtitle it. But still, like it's hard to recommend because it's like, well, unless you know Japanese. Or unless it's subtitled in some other language that I do not know, I can't really recommend it because they can't watch it. So
more well-informed.
Specifically, the special dialect of mumble.
If you understand Japanese mumble.
Really selling it.
Do not
really selling it, which I know.
Do not mind sudden stops in like
I'm sorry you had to watch
visuals or audio. Here's a reminder. I'm on the don't recommend this team. Like it's a good stepping stone. But I would not want to watch it again. So yeah, it's okay. Like I said, it was not necessarily pleasant, but it was an experience, and I got to discuss it with both of you. So it was worth it.
Aww.
It was definitely worth watching it once.
You watched the movie?
But yes, I will not watch the movie.
No, Tanya, the movie's so much better. Okay.
Maybe in 2 months, if you remember it and you remind me, I might watch it.
I will.
Okay.
I will definitely remember.
We'll see how it goes.
All right.
But yeah, if you for some reason decide to watch it, here's a reminder of warnings.
Please be aware that the show includes parental neglect, bullying, manipulation, the Confederate flag, xenophobia, racism, death from overwork, physical abuse, emotional abuse, trauma, discrimination, abuse of power, obsession, attempted suicide, death, and child grooming.
And that's the end of our episode. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yay! Okay, we did it.
We did it!
Yes. So if you would like to contact us, you can email us at kiss.accidental@gmail.com.
You can subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Just search for Accidental Kiss.
You can also follow us on social media, on Twitter at kiss_accidental, and on Instagram at accidentalkiss.
Let us know if you have any other Asian drama series you'd like to cover on the show. Your suggestion might make it into a future episode if we can find space and time.
Okay, we would like to thank you so much again, Ayumi, for coming on our podcast again. It was really fun chatting with you. Is there anything you would like to plug?
Yeah, of course. So, like we've already mentioned, both other times as well as now, I have my own podcast, Sparkleside Chats with Magical Girl Ayu. You can find it on all the podcast platforms. Pretty easy to find. I don't think there are any other podcasts with the word Sparkleside. Also, I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Ayu She Knows. That's AYUSHEKNOWS. And I am on both those platforms under my podcast handle as Magical Girl Ayu. So, yeah, I think that's it. And there are links all over there and stuff for if you want to check out my other work or see what other podcasts I've guested on and so on. But yeah, thanks again for having me on.
Thank you so much for being so patient with us. I'm going to repeat it.
Yes.
And again,
Yes.
you can also listen to an episode of Ayumi's podcast that Faith was
Japanese name.
Faith was a guest on talking about the 2003 live action drama of Sailor Moon.
Yes, I had a blast doing that episode with Ayumi, and I hope all our listeners will check it out.
Stay tuned for our next episode where we'll be talking about something. No, I'm gonna reread it. Okay. Stay tuned for our next episode where we don't know what we will be talking about yet.
Oh, Alright, okay. Fine. We'll
see you.
We'll see. Alright, until then, see you.
Stuck in an elevator where everything's a miss. Forced to marry the first guy you accidentally kiss. Betrayed by your only friend, so she can get the guy. The reasons above and more are why. The way we feel about Asian dramas is just so complicated. It is so complicated.